Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where we watch secret movie trilogies and try to find out which of the entries is up the back jacking off to the Japanese comics. I'm your host, first name Mr. Last name Glass, and joining me as always are...
I'm Grana, and you might be pregnant now. Am I a good kisser?
And I'm Luke, and rejoice! The broken are more evolved. Rejoice, etc.
You're mixing up your personalities, but that's okay, because we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan's The Eastrail 177 trilogy, or the Unbreakable trilogy, as anyone who really probably knows it will know it as. The first stealth trilogy that we've ever done. So I think the first one that, was not marketed or ever... A part of the movie was this big reveal that it was actually part of a broader universe.
Well, we did a Christopher Nolan one, but yeah, this is more...
So stealth that nobody uncovered it until we did it as a podcast.
It's still not... Most people say it's still not even a trilogy.
Debatable.
Next level, etc. Consisting of 2000's Unbreakable, 2016 Split, and 2019's Glass. Do you guys remember when Split came out and like the discourse around that? What was your experience with it?
Yeah, I remember like the movie itself had a fair bit of hype around it still. M. Night Shyamalan was still kind of a director people cared about a little bit in 2016. He was definitely kind of on the way out, but I think this was a movie that people were really positive on. And then, it was spoiled for me, but seeing that it was a stealth trilogy with Unbreakable was it's crazy. I don't. There must be other examples of this, but I don't know of any, and I certainly haven't been involved in any in the way I was with this trilogy.
Luke?
So yeah, like the thing, I just remember the hype around Split, and I feel like, not only was it Shyamalan, but I feel like James McAvoy was really hot at the time, as in popular, and this whole thing of, playing all these different personalities. Probably, people wouldn't be into that these days because a lot of people suffer from it. But back then it was like, this is an interesting thing. But I'd never heard or seen Unbreakable. I didn't even know what Unbreakable was, and I watched. So Split was my first time watching this movie, like any part of this series, and I remember like the end coming up and just this random scene with Bruce Willis in a cafe, and I was like, what is going on? What are they talking about? Like, this is so weird. Like, that's a weird ending. And then I do remember going down like a rabbit hole of being like, okay, there was this random movie that nobody watched 20 years ago. Okay, that's weird. And never thought about it again. Skipped Glass when it came out because I was like, I never watched that original one. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it's after watching it all now, I was like, oh man, that would have been such a cool reveal. Like even watching it now, as soon as the music kicks in at the cafe scene, it's like that theme from Unbreakable. I was like, oh man, it was like MCU moment. I was like, yes, cool. This is really cool. But yeah,
definitely an MCU moment. Yeah, being comic book movies like this, kind of knows where it's from. Yeah, same deal. I remember this movie coming out when I was working at the video store, so I saw the trailer about 1,000 times a night. And yeah, there's definitely that because M. Night Shyamalan had he kind of had his weird lull in his career. The late 2000s and the early 2010s were not good for him. That's when he released his After Earth and Last Airbender and Lady in the Water before that. Sort of his, just like when he lost all his stock and everybody sort of turned off him. Then in 2015, he made The Visit, which was kind of a really small film, but people had a following, at least people had seen it, were like, this is actually pretty good. And yeah, this was definitely like his return. People were still excited. I think his name still has power to this day, which is kind of funny. Like he can still sort of sell something.
Trap. And people went and saw Trap just because it was a Shyamalan film, I feel like.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Like people were still people just like being deceived by him. They like him going in and having him pull the rug out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I didn't see this when it came out, and then it was spoiled for me. And watching it this time, I was like, man, there is a lot of his it's been said a lot, but a lot of his movies do lose their impact when you know the twists. And waiting for the reveal with this of like when is Bruce Willis coming into it really kind of affected my viewing experience.
Really?
Which is kind of I don't know. I think it's just. I guess what I'm trying to say is
it's like a post-credit thing. It's not really like essential to the story of the
second one. That's kind of what annoyed me as well. Like, because it's a pretty integral part to the text of this trilogy, and to have it as like it's a stinger, and like stingers Stingers are bad. I don't like stingers, especially when they have really pivotal information. And I guess the whole way to this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a really good feed into it, but it never came. And I don't know. But I guess it speaks to the value of like seeing things when they come out. And like that moment, if you'd seen this in the cinema, people who'd liked Unbreakable and were just like people who followed his career and saw this movie, that'd be kind of exciting, right? To be like a room full of Shyamalan heads, be like, holy shit, Bruce Willis is back. And but I don't know. Anyway, look, we have it now. And we'll never go back from here. All right, let's do some stats.
Yes. Stats.
All right, Unbreakable, released in 2000, had a budget of 75 million, made 248 million. Comes in with a Metacritic of 62. Split, 16 years later. Budget of 9 million, made 278 million.
Whew, good return.
Metacritic of 63. Glass 2019, budget of 20 million, made 247 million. It's worth noting as well, with Split and The Visit, those were the first films that Shyamalan started self-funding entirely, so based with like taking out collateral against his property and through the earnings of his other movies. So that 278 million is kind of just all profit to him, really. So man's laughing.
What a budget too. 9 million, did you say?
9 million is what I saw. Which I was surprised at, but then when you think about it,
Anya Taylor-Joy's salary these days. Got in early.
This kind of it hit her when she was sort of fresh off The Witch, because Witch is 2015, so she was not a powerful quantity. James McAvoy has kind of always been, like a character actor who, he doesn't headline films. No one goes and sees anything just for him. And then it's set in like two places. It's very easy sort of low budget movie to make. You just get an underground sort of area and that's it. So I don't know, like it's admirable. Say what you will about M. Night or M. Night, if you will. His qualities as like a director writer are mixed, but the man can just like he's an indie filmmaking genius. Like to be able to do this shit, right? Self-fund your movie, sort of have this ability to like just kind of get people interested with your concepts, know what people are gonna see. And just keep doing it again and again. Like people came back for Glass as well, even though reception on that was pretty negative. I don't know. The dude it's really admirable. Just he knows the industry and he just knows what he is, I guess. He knows that he sort of has this genre and he has this hook.
I was just literally about to say, he knows how to hook you. Like, I feel like everyone knew that tagline of Split. It was just like the cover of him and it's like, he has 23 split personalities. He's about to unlock the 24th. And it's like, oh, what? That's crazy. And I mean, the same was Trap. As soon as the trailer came out for Trap, people were just like, oh, that's a really cool, like
hook.
Yeah, hook, but it is what it is. It was just a concept movie for his daughter, but still, like, it is an interesting hook, and he knows how to make it work. Same as the Knock at the Door in the Cabin in the Woods. I always get the name of that movie wrong. Every single time. Knock at the Cabin. It ends up being like a paragraph movie title for me, but like that as well. I remember just hearing like the synopsis of it, and I was just like, cool, I'm in. Jack Bautista, like in a random cabin, like preaching stuff about the end of the world. Sign me up for it. I'm there for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still want to see Trap, and I know it's bad, and I know it's just a concept movie, but the concept seems really good. I'm hoping there's something there. I probably won't watch it, but part of me still wants to see it.
Why do you guys think that? Because I'm the same. I always see it. I'm like, I should watch Trap when it comes out, even though everything I've read and heard says it's bad. But it's just the case with him. Like all of his movies, with the exception of like the three stinkers in the middle, I'm like, I kind of like most of them. I think he's got a lot of. And every time I watch them, I'm like, God, there's some terrible choices here, or there's some things where I'm like, this is just really shit. This guy's a hack. But then I'm always like, but I really can't wait for him to make another movie. I can't wait for him to do something else. Why do you guys think this is? Like, I don't know. What about it that sort of appeals to you, or do you think it appeals to anybody?
There's something like I've watched Trap. I'm the only one here that's watched it, and even me, that I've voiced that it's not a great film, and it's basically just this thing. I'm still trying to convince my wife to watch it, and I'll watch it with her again. I'm just like, no, come on, you should watch Trap. Let's watch Trap. Like, why not? It's just it's like a weird guilty pleasure thing. Even if you don't get that much pleasure out of it, it's kind of just this like thing. Like, and I don't know if it's now just the name, because even I was super hyped, and then the reception was really bad for his daughter's debut film, The Watchers or whatever. And I still want to see that, just because I was like, oh, that's an interesting hook in that as well.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh, and it's a Shyamalan movie, even though it's his daughter. But
Yeah.
even I want to see that. It's got like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I was like, the trailer hooked me, and I was like, oh, cool, that's fascinating. It's something different. It's not your generic films. It's not your standard film. It's like some weird little adventure you can go on and take away for 2 hours.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, for me, like that expectation of there being a twist that could be on the level of The Sixth Sense. Like The Sixth Sense, that whole movie changes by the end of that movie after you see the twist, right? Like your whole perspective on what you've just watched changes. And I think there's something really special about that. And the idea that he could do that again, like... is titillating, even though he very rarely pulls it off in that same way. Like, I like The Village, and like it has a twist at the end, nowhere near the level of The Sixth Sense, but I still like that movie. And like, I don't know, Knock at the Cabin, like there's not really a big twist at the end of that, but even I'd probably still watch that again. I'll probably watch it with my wife at some point. I don't know. There's just something about his movies. They're just, I don't know. There is an appeal there, and I think for me, the twist is really appealing for movies I haven't watched yet.
So it's funny because I haven't watched Sixth Sense. So Sixth Sense, I actually haven't watched it.
Don't
so
spoil
watch
it.
Sixth
Don't
Sense.
spoil
I
it.
was going to say, don't spoil
it
it for me. But I'm excited to see what that twist is.
Bruce Willis is a superhero the whole time.
What? It's a tie-in. This is actually a quadrilogy. But yeah, that's like, I don't know. There's something to it, and it is always that, what a twist. Like my introduction to M. Night Shyamalan as a teenager, because I wasn't much of a film person. You know, I watched Lord of the Rings, and that was about it. And I just remember seeing him pop up on a few episodes of Robot Chicken, and this is a weird callback, but he would pop up on as a random thing on Robot Chicken, where he'd just be like, "What a twist!" Like anytime they did like a plot twist, he'd pop up as like a little character down the bottom and say that, and that was my introduction to him. And then yeah, that's the thing. Over the years, watching his movies, it is just always this thing of like, I wonder if he'll pull something out. And I do sometimes walk out. Like, Grano, we walked out of Knock at the Door in the cabin in the woods in a forest somewhere, and I walked out of Trap being like, what was the twist? I was like, I don't know. Is that the twist? Is that what it was? But even with that, I'll still go see what he goes next. His name has power.
Yeah, I wonder if like The Sixth Sense really did kind of break the world / break the whole, like break the movie landscape in a good way, because 26 years later, his name still like is synonymous with that, like a Shyamalan twist that's kind of referenced in, like say, Robot Chicken. There's a whole episode of It's Always Sunny where they're talking about this. Like there is constant references to this, like the idea of a twist that is kind of so amazing, but also maybe disappointing or kind of cheap in a way. Like it kind of covers all mess. Like, and we said it's becoming signatures. Like everything has to have a twist in it now. But then sometimes these movies don't have a twist, and that's the twist. It's like you spend the whole time waiting for it. You're like, there's no twist here. Yeah. Shit, he got me again. It's like there's this meta level of his of him pulling the rug out from under you. And because I didn't see Sixth Sense when it came out. Like I was way too young for that. But the fact that still to this day everybody knows that movie, and you say that like, oh yeah, the twist would. I won't spoil it for you, Luke, but there's a pretty big twist in that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I think the impact of that is kind of maybe not understated, but like we forget about it. Just this guy showed you, like you say, it's like holy shit, you can make a movie that works. Like rewatching it, it's still a really good film, but then you see the first time and the twist makes it amazing, and then you watch it again, you're like you say, Grant, it's a whole different experience because everything it just affects it. And like that's pretty amazing to do. Like it's hard to make a movie that good. Especially when this was I think it was his second movie, but it was his first big film.
Yeah.
Did either of you watch that movie unspoiled? And have the twist happen?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. 'Cause I think it was on the trailer for like a VHS ad or something. Oh, no, that was just the quote.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched it when I was pretty young, younger.
So did I, yeah. But I'm pretty sure I knew the twist already. Like, it was one of those twists that people talked about a lot for a long time. And it was always a joke to spoil it. Like, it was kind of the thing people did for a while.
Yes, Scrubs makes a great reference to that exact thing. Like, the janitor hasn't seen it 15 years later and he gets it spoiled and it's a whole big plot arc.
That was me. But, that's the thing, really, what other movies rely on that? I feel like twists now and like big ending twists and now like a TV show things, at the end of a season or something like that, or like I think a Lost. I feel like your standard movie that you go to at the cinema doesn't have like that hook at the end of like, oh, what a twist! This whole thing was a lie, because I feel like a lot of people call that out as cheap, if like you say, oh, it was all a dream all along or something like that. But people are afraid to pull the rug out and do a twist at the end. But yeah, he can get away with it. But
I think the world is kind of a different place now. Like, it is so hard to not get spoiled for a movie. If you spend any time at all on the internet, or spend any time at all talking to coworkers, like, the monoculture, this culture that everybody's involved in, like, Game of Thrones, like the Red Wedding, like everybody talked about that afterwards, and it was really hard to avoid. And that's why I was like watching that show day and date, so I wouldn't get spoiled. And I don't know. I wonder if it's really hard to pull that off now.
That's right. Yeah, it was you're right. The lack of the monoculture is sort of that. I think there was almost like this more of a, I don't know, kind of like a civility and like a polite way of approaching movies, where it'd be like, all right, let's not spoil this for the people who haven't had a chance to go to the movies yet and see it. Where like everything was slow, whereas now it's right, like you get on there and you immediately share it with your friends, and like fan pages or companies will like they'll kind of push it to a week after it's released, they'll start to like show the reveals as marketing and be like, holy crap, look at this sort of thing.
Or release posters of characters and do all that.
Or if they're not going to like totally reveal the twist, there is a twist, and there's a big twist, and like even that colors your experience of then watching that movie, and the twist isn't as impactful.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like you really can't get away with this, and people won't. The other side of it is people won't see the movies now based on this. Like the one that comes to mind is Abigail that came out last year, and Trap as well. Like Trap, literally, the trailer is like, holy crap, there's a serial killer in a concert. And I remember listening to a lot of podcasts of people being like, there's got to be a second twist. This is going to be the Shyamalan double twist. Because it's like, who would reveal this big thing in the trailer? That's the kind of thing that gets revealed as a whole big revelation. And it never came. And Abigail, same deal. Like that trailer is like, oh, it's a vampire they're trying to kidnap. And it's like, this movie is based on the idea that you think it's a heist movie, and then halfway through there's a reveal that she's actually something more. But yeah, like in 1999, people spent like, how much did Sixth Sense make? A shit ton of money is the answer.
Yeah.
People would go and see a movie about a child psychologist. Like, I'm sorry, no one's seen that movie now, right? That is a Netflix. That is a Netflix release, especially when you're like, it's not really a horror. Like Sixth Sense is a supernatural drama. Like it's maybe a thriller, but it's not a horror. It's not a genre piece. It's kind of like this. It's undefinable in a way, and no one would see that now at the movies. That would just come and go, unless it was marketed as like big twist. You've got to see this.
It made $672 million worldwide on a $40 million budget.
$40 million budget.
That's $19.99 too, mind you.
That's nuts. Yeah. It's just a different space now. Which is sad, but it's fascinating. Yeah, his name still holds that sort of weight of, like you guys said, maybe he can change the world again. Like we're still waiting for Shyamalan to show us the way.
I will just add the opening weekend was pretty poor with only 26 million. Like that's less than Unbreakable, but that movie I think lived on its word of mouth and like people talking about you got to go see Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense in the 90s made more than like the last Mission Impossible film. Which had all that marketing of Tom Cruise driving up a motorbike off a cliff and all that. And
how many times did we all watch that clip?
50 times. But like that probably did more damage, really. But Tom Cruise after Top Gun Maverick's success, you'd think, and Mission Impossible is a thing. It did 500-something million worldwide at the box office. Yeah. And like that's insane to think that that movie back then about a child psychologist did that well. And it's word of mouth.
Yeah, I think it's like because if you come out of the movie, right, and you have that, you're like, wow, what have I just experienced? This was great. And you tell your friends, you've got to see this in the cinema. There's this great twist. Whereas now, if you come out of that, you're just kind of like, because there's so many other places to go and sort of, there's so much more saturation, I guess. Like there's just not that same etiquette of being like, you got to go and see, because you wouldn't just, plenty of people probably spoil it, but like I think there's more of an understanding of like, hey, we all just saw something cool. We want other people to do this. versus now where like the word of mouth wouldn't be quite like, hey, you've got to see this. It would just be like there is a twist, or like anyone would be like, oh, everyone said this movie was really cool. What is it? And they Google it and they find out. It's like, oh shit. Yeah. Whereas 99,
they go on social media and people have made memes of it and or something like that. Like it's like that. So yeah, I feel like the last one I remember, like when I walked out of Interstellar, I remember texting you, Conan, and being like, oh my god, like you won't believe the twist are coming. I remember you when you finally watched it being like, oh my god, it was love. And I was like, I know, right? So crazy.
And what a twist that is. That's a good example of one of the disappointing Shyamalan twists. You come out and you're like, wow, he shat the bed real bad. Didn't you, Chris? Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. All
right, let's talk movies. Unbreakable. Yes. Synopsis.
Bald man.
After surviving a train crash, David Dunn, a security guard in Philadelphia, begins to discover that he might have secret superhuman abilities. That's a pretty bad synopsis, but it kind of fits with the whole movie where this movie works if you kind of go into it not knowing a whole lot. All these movies do. But yeah. All right, so you guys, Luke, you hadn't seen this movie?
No, never. No.
Okay, interesting. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like after watching Split years ago and having that ending thing, I guess I don't know what was going through my head back then, but I never went back to look into it. I just had this assumption, like, it would be a bad movie. Like, I was like, I'm not going to go back and watch this old movie. And I got to admit, I had like even dread about watching it this fortnight. I was like, oh man, I got to watch these movies. And then I don't know, I enjoyed it. I was like, I kind of bought into the universe a bit, and it's kind of refreshing. Like, obviously, Bruce Willis. Gone very down. I feel like Glass was one of his last films. My camera's done that weird thing again, but like I like Bruce Willis, and I feel like I haven't watched many movies with him from back in the heyday, other than Die Hard and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's simple. It's a simple movie, but it's effective. I like it. I like the way it's filmed. I don't know. I really enjoyed it a lot more than what I thought I would, and I'm glad I didn't go back and watch it or read up about what it was about years ago when I finished Split, because you'd think I should have. I should have been like, wait a minute. So what happened in the first movie to catch on to this? But no, I'm glad I was able to watch it with fresh eyes, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Grady, you had seen this, hadn't you?
Yeah, I had seen it before. I remember it's kind of one of the, I feel like it's a bit of a cult classic. Like, it's one of those movies people talked about a lot as being kind of overlooked, I guess. I think it, coming out straight after The Sixth Sense and also starring Bruce Willis, I think that's why it had a really good opening weekend, but didn't necessarily do as well. I think people are a bit down on it because of that. I like this movie. It's not like my favorite movie ever. This movie makes me feel really like lonely. I feel like Bruce Willis is really lonely in this movie. Like, everyone around him either hates him or is a dick to him. And I don't know why. Like, I don't understand why this movie is this way. I don't know. Do you guys feel this way? Like, there's something very ethereal about the way it's shot, which reminds me of The Sixth Sense a lot. And it works better in The Sixth Sense, that feeling of loneliness, because we won't go into the spoiler, but
trust us, it just makes sense, Luke. Okay.
Yeah, it just makes sense, Luke. You'll get it one day.
Man, I can't wait.
But this movie, I don't know, it makes me feel depressed because it's a pretty dark movie, and I really love the concept, like this really kind of, I don't want to say mellow, but this kind of, what's the
somber.
word?
It's very somber.
Yeah, this somber superhero movie where he's not doing anything super flashy. He's just going out and helping people a bit. But the whole movie leaves me feeling very lonely and kind of depressed.
It's very muted as well. Like, everything is kind of, it's ironic, right? It's a comic book movie, but it is so different to what we expect a comic book movie to look like. It is. Shyamalan uses color pretty well. Like, everything in this movie is kind of blue and cold and meant to make you feel wet and dreary, and like, it meant to make you feel like life has been sucked out of it, like it's been sucked out for David Dunn. And I had the same feeling. Sorry, Luke, what were you saying?
I was going to say, like, I don't know if I'm just a widow, like, and my gym playlist is like emo music, but like, I feel like that's why I really vibed with this movie and really liked it, is And I don't know if it's like a thing set, it is a superhero thing, but it's like in our ordinary, dark, dreary, grey and green world, even like his suits is like just green garbage bag, basically, poncho that he has on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's something about it that, like, even the big showdown is him fighting this dude that's broken into a house and he's trying to, but the guy still killed the two adults, and he almost drowned in the pool trying to fight this guy. And that's his big showdown. Like he's strong, It is a kind of a very realistic thing of what a superhero, finding out you have superpowers in a real life would be like. It's not the Avengers, and it's not the boys either. Like if somebody found out they had super strength, it's not so much the boys either. But there's something about it that it really feels grounded and real and is somber. But I didn't even really think about it. But when you said that, Griner, like it is very true. Like there's something depressing about David Dunn, and even like from the opening scene on the train, and he's trying to hit on this chick, and she's just
taking his wedding ring off
and walks away. And then everyone on that train dies. The little girl dies. That girl that he tried to hit on dies, except him. Like it is very lonely. he's never been able to have a sick day off work. That shit would be depressing.
That sucks.
Like that sucks. But I don't know, I like it.
I don't know. The thing that I think hits me the hardest is his kid is kind of an ass to him. Like, I don't know. His kid like wants to be happy about it, but he's really reluctant to. And then they have that showdown with the gun, and even the scene in the basement where he's weightlifting, and it should be kind of a little bit celebratory. I guess he's kind of discovering powers, and his kid's excited about it. Even that feels like very muted and very kind of he's almost cranky that the kid's pushing him to it. Yeah. I don't know. I like this movie, and I do respect it for being different in the superhero genre, a genre that didn't really exist that much back then. Like it was not the way it does now. Certainly,
this is pre-Spider-Man, right?
Oh yeah,
Spider-Man 2001 or 2000.
2000, I think.
2000.
But I don't know. This might have come out first. I don't know. Either way,
we would have had X-Men maybe.
Oh no, sorry, Spider-Man. Yeah, you had X-Men. X-Men was 2000. Spider-Man was 2002.
Yeah. So
right
around that time.
You barely had it.
I don't know. I just wish I felt better after watching it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think you've nailed something there. It's the way a lot of his movies are. It's like the way I feel with all of them. I really admire them. Like they're movies you can admire and you can like intellectually. But Shyamalan has such a problem with making you work emotionally, I think. And the two movies I like the most, Sixth Sense and Signs. I think they work where he finally sort of taps into this emotion that he's going for. But in all of his other movies, he really struggles with it. I think and part of that comes from like his writing is so strange. The dialogue is so weird. Characters are so strange. They say such weird things. And like that is exactly this. I'd forgotten how sort of just how misanthropic Bruce Willis is in this movie. Like he just stares the whole movie. He's just kind of staring ahead, and he barely says a word. And when he does, it's just like there's no enthusiasm in his voice. Even when he's like yelling at his son to not shoot him, he's just like his expression doesn't change, and he raises his voice, but there's still no emotion in it. Like his performance is so void of life, and I think that's intentional. As with all of like the weird dialogue in Shyamalan's films, but it's like that stops me from connecting with it in a certain way. And I'd forgotten a lot about this movie, but I came out the same day. I'm like, I really admire that movie. I really like a lot of the stuff it does, especially whenever Samuel Jackson's on the screen. I'm engaged because he's the one who's working it. He's doing the performance that you can feel all this stuff underneath his very cool exterior. Whereas the rest of them, like everyone is just empty. Everyone is like walking ghosts, which, that's the point after The Sixth Sense. But it's just like, it's hard to connect with. And like that is a negative with the movie. I do wish there was more to emotionally invest with, because you're right. There's like the moments with the weightlifting. It's like, this should be bigger. The big kind of clash comes from that gun scene. That is good. Whereas his kid's got the gun on him, but again, that doesn't really come with it. And then the catharsis comes from the dinner table where Bruce Willis just kind of, puts his finger on his lips to say like shush, and the son's crying a little bit, but it's like I don't know. I feel like there needs to be a bit more of a healing here, a bit more of a connection than just yes.
You just got to wait 20 years. You got to wait for that third movie, and now he's his guy in the chair. He's his guy.
But do we get it? Yeah, we'll talk about that, boy. Some of the styling in this movie though is like fantastic. The all the angles that he does, like he's again, this is the movie that reminded me like, oh, there's a reason why I think he still has powers. Like he is a really talented filmmaker. Like some of the stuff he does, the opening scene where it's the camera moving back and forth between the seats. So it's all shot. It's all shot through there. It's all one take is really good. When he wakes up and he's on the table, and it's like slowly zooming in as the patient dies, and their conversation is in the background. And so as they're just talking, really
seep through as well. Yeah, it's really effective.
It's just like shit. I don't know. It's just like that's a really cool way to shoot this. You know, that obviously took a lot of thought and planning and thinking of what to do. This isn't just a hacky like let's put it here. So there's a lot of character in all of his filming in this. Like he's trying to sort of emulate the comic book feel of long panels of long stuff. But I don't know, like that really worked for me.
Yeah, he plays with colour well too, like giving Bruce Willis that green and then purple for Glass. Like that. It's very comic booky again, but very grounded. I think it works really nicely.
Yeah. The emotional stuff with Glass is all really good, actually. Like flashing back to him as a kid, I think is really solid. I found those really effective. Even actually the opening scene where he's being born, and it's like it's shot through like 3 mirrors. It's like the camera's in one place and you're recording a mirror reflection of a guy from another reflection. It's very strange. Like it's very on the nose of like, glass and mirrors. Like Shyamalan is not subtle in any way, but it's no. I don't know. It just straight away you feel off, and you kind of like it just feels weird, and I think that kind of sets the tone for the whole film. Then, all right. In the sake of time, anything else to say about Unbreakable?
I do like the final showdown, like as I talked about earlier. Even though, like he falls in the pool and he almost loses, and he gets the guy. But it's kind of that thing of like, he saved the kids. He could have got there before he was going to kill the 2 parents. But so it's not even like a happy ending of like, hey, he's a hero. It's like, oh, them 2 kids are now parentless. Like, but hey, he saved somebody.
Yeah. It's a bit of a convenient plan. He's like, I'll go to a train station, find a killer to stop. And he just like, there's a guy he's kind of squatting in a place with some prisoners, and he's just gone to work that day. I don't know. Do you do that? Like, if you commit murder and have got kids hostage, do you be like, I'll come back in 8 hours after my shift, guys? Don't escape. I don't know. Luke, you killed a person. What did you do?
Yeah, well, the thing about it is like, no, let's not open that rabbit hole. But so when I first watched that movie though, and I guess it should have made sense like later, and I've been like, oh, that's what it was. Because when I was watching it and he was following him, I was like, so wait, did he see that's about to happen? Like, was it like a clairvoyant thing of like, oh, is he going to prevent this from happening, or has he seen that and obviously, he's seen the person already had done something. So
yeah,
I guess he couldn't have saved them. My bad.
Yeah,
I still hadn't picked up on that, but yeah.
There's a subtext to that as well, right? Like as a hero, he's kind of like he's such a non-heroic superhero, right? His ability is he can't get hurt, but he can still probably die. But just his body can't get hurt in some way. But he can also see what people have already done. So it's like flesh that out.
Punish people that have done
bad exactly. Things. He can never actually. He can't save people or prevent things. Yeah, he can punish the crimes. Like that's. I don't know. There's a lot of that kind of would have been more interesting in a way to mine to be like, what does that look like, right? And maybe if you made a movie 19 years later, maybe he could have fleshed this out. I don't know. I'm going to make a note of myself to bitch about that then as well. The Avenger part. All right. Well, let's move on then because it's getting late. Split 2016. James McAvoy has 23 personalities, and he kidnaps 3 girls. And he talks about 24. I didn't write these down. They have to escape before the apparent emergence of a frightful new 24th personality called, quote, the Beast, end quote.
So
pretty cool premise.
Obviously, I feel like the twist in this isn't that it's connected to Unbreakable. I think the twist is, well, at least, the twist at the time was like, oh, he actually is super, like, like the beast is an actual beast that can crawl around and stuff like that. It's
the twist is the last act of this movie is a monster movie.
Yeah.
That being said, this was all spoiled in the trailer. I feel. I remember him walk. I remember seeing him crawl on the wall.
Yes, I think they did show that. They didn't show him. They should, but that's a very creepy scene. It's not necessarily a scene that's like, oh, there's an animal here and he's bending bars and he's hunting someone
eating
down.
people and
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
I hadn't actually seen the trailers because I was just like, oh, what is this beast thing going to be? Like, I had no idea what was coming, and then I was like, oh my god, he's crawling on the wall. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, the twist is that the beast is real. Yeah. This was.
I freaking love this movie. just say that.
Yeah,
let's be positive. Come on, let's be positive.
No, I'm not a positive person. Maybe it was because I watched it at 360p on my phone that I didn't enjoy it that much. Ooh. But something about this movie, something about it, I don't know. Like, I liked this film, but I was not. I don't know. I wasn't blown away by it. I think I was expecting. I had really high hopes. I think I was just expecting a lot.
Did you like all the reception? What are you talking about the first time you watched it?
I've only seen this once.
Oh, you hadn't seen this before?
No. I owned a copy on DVD, which I've since lost because somebody else took it to watch this trilogy, probably.
Oh, sorry.
So I'd never seen it. I bought it because one day I'll watch Split and I'll love it, and then I couldn't friggin' find it, so I had to watch it on my shitty threes. That's why I watched it in such bad quality.
Oh
man! Right? Okay.
So that's my thought. I like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, right. I'm a sucker for trapped in a basement, held hostage, gotta escape.
Really?
I don't know. And I had that thought. Should I admit this on a podcast because people will find about the children in my basement? No.
Yeah, how many rooms?
I don't know. I'm a sucker for that. I think it makes for really good thriller material. It's easy to it's well-worn territory. I understand that, but you can build some really nice tension, and then I think throw into that the split concept of him having multiple personalities. And James McAvoy, his performance is a lot of fun. I don't know, maybe you guys disagree, but I really enjoy what he's doing here. Is it top notch, deserves an Academy Award acting? No.
Yes.
No, I don't think so. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. Swapping between these personalities. You've got the Doctor on the outside meeting with him, kind of knowing what's going on, but kind of powerless to do anything about it. I think Anya Taylor-Joy's good in this. The flashbacks to her childhood make me really upset, and they were really effective.
I
think the switch up for the last act to be a monster movie works too. Everything about this works for me.
Yeah, I'm aboard with Grana.
Yeah,
I watched this film and I kind of had this whole thing of I've seen this movie, I don't need to see it again about watching it. And then I just had a lot of fun with it again. I was like, no, this is fun. McAvoy's having fun, even though he apparently got frustrated filming this and punched a wall and broke his hand. But it's I don't know. There's something funny about it. I knew it had become, it'd become a meme over the years, oh, that wasn't me, that was Patricia. People, that's one of my favorite memes from it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, I don't know. And I'd completely forgotten that it was Anya Taylor-Joy in this.
Same.
I watched it before she was famous, so I didn't know who it was. And yeah, I don't know. There's a few things that I'd only remembered vividly from the movie. And it was that he eats the other girls. I just remember him crunching and being that really disturbing. And I remember the really effed up scene from her childhood where I was like, oh, that's disturbing. This dude in the forest, know? And I thought that she did shoot him with a shotgun, and I was like, come on, blow his head off. But she didn't.
Yeah, in my mind, it was the uncle that died and her dad lived. Way more depressing than that.
Yeah, exactly. But I have a lot of fun with this, watching it, and yeah, I don't know, it holds up. Conan, I'm surprised that this was your first time watching it, especially if you'd seen. So you didn't have that stealth reveal of the trilogy. You went into watching this knowing it was part of the trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I think that's probably why it sort of delayed me a little bit. I was like, I will see it eventually. Yeah. And then before I could, I found out it was connected to the universe. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So then I think I was like, partially I was like, oh, it's a shame that I know that now. But also I should rewatch Unbreakable, then watch this. And then never did. And when Glass came out, I was like, I'll have to watch that. And then I started doing this podcast with two dickheads that I know. And I was like, I should do it then. And so here we are, 2025, and we're finally doing it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
No, like this is so. I don't want to sound too down on it. I'm not like, oh, it's bad, because it is really good, and all of Shyamalan's strengths work here, where he films everything from really weird ass angles, and there's a lot of like strange, but all the strange choices work as well, where everything feels uneasy with Casey, and you're like, what's going on here? Because the whole time I was like, is she the killer? I'm expecting her to actually be like as evil as the Beast or something, right? And you're waiting for some shoe to drop, and then all of James McAvoy's personalities, they're so weird. Like Hedwig, right, where he just keeps dropping etc. at random places. It's like, it's like, this is kind of bad writing, but it just works because it's like, this is a 23rd personality where he's just got one thing that he says, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Like all the weaknesses of Shyamalan can kind of work here with the premise. And you're right, the flashbacks really worked for me, where like they are so ominous and they are so and the whole just super, super creepy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the thematic landing works for me, where he kind of hits and he's like, he lets Anya Taylor go because he's like, you've also had trauma, so I won't eat you.
Yeah, I see what you mean with that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like oh wow, that's really deep.
It's like,
yeah,
and it's kind of goofy, right? He's like, he's like, if you've had trauma or if you're a broken person, you are the next stage of evolution, and you will be the strongest person around. I'm like, hey, I don't know. Like, we could mine that and really see if that's true, but it's just kind of this weird. Almost feels a bit like a cop out to be this uplifting, like, you've got baggage too. These girls never had to suffer or struggle. I'm like, I don't know. What is that? It just seems
especially after he's just eaten the other two, because it's like, okay, well, they were kind of held captives for the last day, so they're kind of tortured now too, aren't they?
Yeah, where's the trauma?
Kind of had a trauma experience already.
Yeah, exactly. There's a timer, right? Like after 6 hours of trauma, that's when you're damaged enough. Maybe he's like, I've got to eat them before then, otherwise I'll be still. So that's kind of like, I feel like the movie's trying to say a lot, and like that. This is again his problem. Like, he's got great premises, he's got great concept and premises, but he often will then try to sort of mix it up by he'll ruin it by trying to say something deep. Like it happened with The Village, I think, where the whole reveal is like, we were suffering from trauma, and so we went and hid in a village. It's like, the fuck? And it kind of the same with this, where he's like, I've got trauma, and so I'm the next stage of evolution. And I'm like, I don't think he needs to have this grand philosophy that he wants to add on. It could have just been really cool as like, she kills him. Movie. Yeah, as a monster movie. Or she is actually like, because the whole time I'm like, why is she not stronger? Like, it's literally showing a backstory of her as a hunter. It's like, okay, she's going to start hunting the beast. That's fucking cool, right? Tables turn, things go awry. But that never happens. She's always really timid and scared. And I'm like, why have I been told that she was learning hunting from when she was 6 years old if she doesn't know how to handle a shotgun properly? Like,
but she kind of does, right? Like she lands her shots at the end, and she's definitely more capable than the other girls. But you're right. Like I think that theme doesn't land. I will agree, and that whole trope of trauma is my superpower is pretty dangerous. It's pretty bad, really.
I think I agree.
Yeah, and I like the ending of him letting her go. I actually had forgotten that that's what happened, and in my mind, the police show up and he escapes, and she gets saved. But that was how I remembered it. Obviously, not what happens, but
yeah, everything leading up to it otherwise is pretty good. I guess the other thing that annoyed me is it's like, I have 23 personalities, and you see like 4 of them.
Yeah.
We see Hedwig, Patricia, Dennis, Barry.
And then they're like, let's do a little montage where she's watching clips on her computer just to show a couple of others.
Yeah.
But in saying that, we don't need to see more, because like they talk about, taking the light, and he's the one that can control taking the light, and he's sort of giving over possession. Whereas I feel like, we'll talk about with the third one, I feel like when you try and show more, it kind of comes across as like, let's watch McAvoy act a bunch of different crazy people. Like,
and most of them aren't that interesting.
No.
But isn't that why we're here? Like, aren't we? The cover is literally just James McAvoy's face. We're all here to see him act the shit out of it.
I'm happy with like the 8 we get. I'm okay with that. I enjoy them.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't mind. Like, I don't mind the little montage. I think it's way better than what we get in the next movie, in my opinion. I agree, Luke. Like,
100%.
That's a real mess.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I don't have much more to say about Split. Do you guys have anything else to mention before we continue?
No, I really enjoy this movie. I really, really like this movie.
Yep, same.
How many stars did you give it on Letterboxd?
I didn't rate it because I didn't want to give away my my
Nice,
rankings for
good.
the podcast, but I'm going to get on there tonight and fix that up. Don't you worry.
Yeah, you are. I want to see your review afterwards. All right, Glass 2019. I'm just going to really quickly get it. No, sorry, everybody. Play some music.
The synopsis of this must be an essay.
I'll just use IMDb. Security guard David Dunn uses his supernatural abilities to track Kevin Wendell Crumb, a disturbed man who has 24 personalities. Also, Mr. Glass is back.
For some reason.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, the first half of this movie, I just kept being like, this is the easiest paycheck Samuel L. Jackson's ever gotten.
Yeah.
Be funny the whole movie.
That'd be a good twist, yeah. Yeah, all right. So this movie was, I remember being excited about this movie even though I never saw it. But like, oh yeah, there's a trilogy conclusion. Samuel L's back, Bruce Willis is back. And this was, you mentioned it before, Luke, like this is during sort of the Bruce Willis's degradation, like, or his decline. I think you can definitely tell in this movie he is starting to lose, like he's still in really good shape, but he's definitely starting to lose, like his acting is very soft. He's clearly not in any scenes with James McAvoy when they're fighting. I don't know where he was at, but like I think it's kind of sad to watch. I think the decline is starting at this point, but
yeah,
I don't know. I did get some like nostalgic feel for just like, oh cool, we're seeing these guys again. I didn't really want a sequel to Unbreakable, but it's kind of cool that we have one, I guess.
Yeah, I thought Bruce Willis was alright here. Just so you guys know, in the 3 years following this movie, he did like 30 films.
Oh, I know, $1 million each.
That's
like that's his paycheck. He was just making money for his family because he knew he was gonna. Like he knew that he was.
No, but
declining.
wasn't he abused? Like, wasn't there some amount of abuse there too? Like he was being
his agent or somebody
forced into this. And
well, he was being abused as well. Like he was doing these intentionally around. I guess around that time because like from 2017 onwards, 2016, he's making these B-grade action movies. And that was all part of his plan because I think he knew his health was declining. So he was like, from what I'd read, he would take a flat $1 million paycheck, turn up for like a few days shooting. So he's barely a character in any of them. And then like that was it. He was doing this just to like set up his family. Mm-hmm. And I think then it came out on the later films. I think on the set he was being abused. Like he didn't know where he was. He was, like he was clearly shouldn't have been acting in them. But his agent, I guess, was still just like, no, let's keep going, which is really sad.
Just try and drown him a bit. He'll be fine.
There's a trilogy called Detective Night that there's some of the last movies he's made, but I'm not sure I'm game to watch them.
I think that's what we're doing next.
Anyway.
So, Grana, had you seen this?
No, first time watching it.
Yeah, okay. And Conan, I'm guessing the same for you, obviously, as well.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, same. Like there was a part of me after finishing Split, like straight away I was like, all right, cool. I'm kind of keen now to watch Glass. I was like, I'm keen to actually see this trilogy wrap up. And I don't know what my hesitation has been over all these years. I guess just the critical reception and just something about seeing like, you know, them in a character setting where they were very color coded and all that sort of stuff. Where I was just like,
that picture of like the three of them and it's like purple, yellow, green.
Purple, yellow, green. It took away what was special about Split because that was the only one I'd seen where I wasn't interested in it. But I'm glad we got the third one. I'm glad I watched it and everything like that. It's definitely the weakest of the three, and I feel like, you know, everyone agrees with that, like critically and everything like that. I got issues with the third one. I touched on it earlier. Like a lot of the stuff with McAvoy, I don't enjoy. Like where it's just cycling through characters, and it just feels like an excuse to cycle through characters.
Yeah,
really, see, that's like the best. Like I think that's great. Like the fact that it's just him being like in one scene he'll change between 3 different characters before your eyes.
But it wears thin pretty quickly.
This guy's an actor, man.
And I don't think half those characters are that interesting, right? Like
for sure. Like yes, but I don't know.
I'm a historian now, and I could do that. I could act this scene. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, you're as good as James McAvoy. My bad.
I'm an actor.
I guess for me, of the things that happen in this movie, that part's okay, I guess, because the rest of this movie I find very dull.
Why's that?
I mean, they lock them up for half of it. I just don't really know. And then they have this really long...
the third act.
Oh, even the third act's really bad. But they have this really long therapy scene with the three of them that doesn't really do anything for me. I don't know if you guys got something out of that. Like, it doesn't really explore any themes that I found interesting or resolve anything.
No,
the problem... Yeah, you go.
No, it's not interesting. Obviously, then the twist is that she's part of some organization that's trying to take out superheroes and convince them that they're crazy and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know if you watch an hour of just basically a therapist being like, you don't have superpowers. And it'd just be like, okay, well, shoot me then. Like, I'll show you, I'll punch this wall and it'll break. Like, proven. Like, nobody else can do that. Like, I don't get what this whole point is to watch this from. I was enjoying it until they got locked up. I was kind of enjoying, like, Bruce Willis out on the street.
Yes.
As cliche and as bad as is, like, I'm glad they got his son back. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And he's saying, oh, don't hunt him down, Dad. Like, let's do this the way. The cops are after you. Like, you got to avoid, looking suspicious wearing your same green poncho everywhere. Like, but I kind of enjoyed that. And I wanted to see more of that, them out in the world. And I feel like the whole thing we get is them just locked up. Bruce Willis probably obviously has reasons behind that where he can't do much, but it's just like, I feel like we're not seeing them do anything, really. Especially like Samuel L. Jackson, we're not seeing him do anything until the last act. Where he's finally awake and doing stuff. So I feel like it's just McAvoy doing a bunch of different, like doing an acting class in front of Sarah Paulson. And it's like, I don't know.
And a fine job he is doing too.
Yes, he is. Just a fine job.
Just a 10 out of 10 job.
I agree, Luke. Like, I think that is the most interesting part of this movie. I mean, I don't want. There's no point in rewriting the movie, but I think there's a cool concept there, and it might be interesting to see Glass like playing interference. So you've got, Bruce Willis versus McAvoy, and then Glass is like in the middle there trying to be involved because he's obsessed with superheroes and supervillains or something. Like, I think you could do other things than this. This therapy session / mental asylum / weird like event at the end where they're supposed to go to some building that's being opened. They never get there. Like, what was all that about? Like, none of that makes any sense. They just have a fight on the front lawn and then it's done.
Because it was diversion by Glass. It was
all part of his plan.
Actually just wanted it
of course.
in front, where she put up 100 cameras and told him that she put up 100 cameras.
I like that reveal. The reveal where the super organization is actually outsmarted by the super villain. And it's like, like that was cool. I thought that he actually got the last laugh and does
the
it.
The organization's actually pretty stupid to do it all in front of 100 cameras.
Yeah, a bit shit. I mean, I think it's kind of silly how at the end it's like, I was thinking, how would this look if it really happened? Like, would everybody really stop and be like, look at this footage? If in the age of fake news and AI, everybody now would, like, there's a thing. Honestly, that'd be like, you'd go home and be like, hey, do you see that video? And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know, that's probably just AI. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That would be it. Like, nothing would come of this.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of sad watching him be like, M. Night wants to believe in a world where the truth can come out, but we're long past that. Yeah, look, this movie has a lot of issues. It sets up a cool idea of like, here is Bruce Willis now fighting crime, and you see one crime get fought, but again, he doesn't actually stop it. He just beats up a guy, which is great, but
hey, that guy was going to Salt Bay his ass.
That's good example of
reference.
Like the pop culture reference.
That's what I mean. Shyamalan can't write dialogue. Like, he just.
I wrote that down because I was like, I need to remember Salt Bay ass. But then they have like a 2-minute conversation about Salt Bay as well, and I was like, oh my god, this is so dating this movie.
You need to explain the reference for it to be funny, guys.
Yeah, it's very strange. But then, like, as soon as he finds Crumb or Kevin, like, they're immediately caught, and so it's like, okay, so there's not going to be any cool cat and mouse here. There's not going to be anything exciting of like chasing or anything. It's just a fight in the court. And then, you're right. It's what should be a really compelling scene of them in the therapy room, like. That kind of either should be the start of the movie, or like that should be a centerpiece of like, here are 3 characters talking about philosophies, trying to be like, here's why we're doing this, right? Like, I don't know. I was reminded of this episode of Daredevil where basically it's on a rooftop and it's just Daredevil and the Punisher talking about their views on the world. And it's them being like, here's why you're wrong and I'm right. Like, that's what I wanted in this. I wanted 20 minutes of them just being like, here's the whole philosophy of superheroes and like why supervillains need to exist. Here's why superheroes can't exist. Like, and what we get instead is just a lot of really weird exposition of like do you remember Unbreakable, where the train disaster happened? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He was the guy who organized that. And it's like,
but even in that therapy, we have Sarah Paulson just saying this to the three of them.
yes.
Samuel L.
Yes.
Jackson is comatose. Bruce Willis is basically comatose, not responding to anything she's saying. And McAvoy's doing like 10 different characters, just like acting weird. Like, it's not compelling at all.
No.
And
No.
like,
No,
even,
No, it's such a weird, like, it's such a waste of this great idea, this great setup. And like three really good actors there who could do something. And it's like, it is weird. Bruce Willis is meant to be the lead of this, and he just does nothing the whole movie. Like, he really is kind of, he wastes around until he's forced, and then he gets in a brief fight. And then he dies really unceremoniously.
And okay, speaking of unceremoniously, it's like the third act, there's the really brutal part of it. Like, obviously, Bruce Willis just gets drowned, and it's like, oh shit, they just killed him. They murdered him. And there's no fanfare about it. And then I feel like we get like the Deadpool death scene with James McAvoy. You know, when Deadpool's laying there like he's dying and he like keeps talking for ages.
He's talking
like monologuing about like, oh, I can see the light. And then you think he's dead, and then he keeps talking. He's like, oh, I felt like that with James McAvoy, where I was like, I feel like he's been laying there dying for like 7 minutes now. Like, what is going on here? Like, why is this person who ate like 3 schoolgirls in the last movie? Why is... And that's the thing, you have Anya Taylor-Joy in this movie who does nothing.
Absolutely nothing,
Except, you know, pine over the dude that ate her friends and is a serial killer. And
it's so
weird, man. I don't like... That's not a positive thing to be like, oh, well, you know what, my uncle was a creep, but this creep's fine. Like, I empathize with him.
He empowered me. Yeah, like they wanted to give each character an advocate or something, but it's bad.
Weird.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
It just undermines her character from Split.
Yeah. It's like Shyamalan's problem is that he's very sentimental, and he never commits. He kind of like wants to be Spielberg, but he also wants to be like a great horror director, because he never leans into the true horror of this stuff. Like, Anya Taylor-Joy would be really good if she was kind of like this really sort of, like, she was also messed up, right? And she's like, oh, he's all right. We got to save him. And it's like, oh, maybe she's kidnapping people now. Like, has she become a monster as well? That's a cool idea.
Stockholm Syndrome. Give me some of that. But
she works
at
the zoo.
Weird.
Like, there's that reveal. She puts the zoo jacket on, and it's like, okay, wait, is she just living out fantasies in there, or like, has she been helping now feed the beast? Like, she's bought into it.
So it doesn't do anything with that, but it's like it kind of should. And even in the moments of like brief horror where he's eating a guard, you don't see anything. You don't see you see a bit of blood on his mouth, and it's like, is he actually eating him, or has he just bitten his leg? I don't really know what's going on. It's like, it's kind of, it's his thing. He's like, he wants to be, he's torn between being a sentimental sort of like heartfelt director and like wanting to make scary, violent stuff. And so he never commits either way. And it really detracts in this, because in that whole third act, there are moments that are really powerful, like where the music is swelling and it's like David Dunn's getting his chance. And he's like, you've got to get out of here and do something. I was like, oh, shit, is this going to be like a really cathartic moment where we find out, because his wife's dead in this, and it's like, okay, we're going to find out like he's been lost ever since then. Does he feel like he's failed as a hero? I don't know. It hints at these things, but it never does anything with that. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be really cathartic. It's going to be him finally making something worthwhile by stopping this killer. And it doesn't. It doesn't do it. Like, they kill him off. And it's like, you've made me care about these characters to bring them back after 20 years. But then it's all in service of this sort of twisty plot of a supervillain network trying to stop it all. Like, that's such a bad choice. It's so
he
silly.
Gets the worst death. Like, he just dies off with no fanfare. And then like the villain of the movie gets the hero send off. And it's like, I don't know. Even Glass gets more of a heroic send off.
Yeah. Which, like, he is a real tragic. Like, Glass is a very good tragic figure in this. Like, we didn't say it in Unbreakable, especially, like, where he talks about, and this is like, in Unbreakable, he talks about how the greatest terror, like, tragedy is not knowing where your place is in this world. And his dying word in this is like, how I'm not a mistake. Like, that's really that hits, I think. But you're right. It's strange that he's the one who gets the emotional catharsis in the end.
Yeah.
Slight tangent, because I don't know how I forgot to talk about this with the first movie. Did anyone else lose their shit laughing when the captions popped up at the end? where like there's the twist where it's revealed that he's the criminal that caused these accidents. Bruce Willis walks away, and then it just pops up like writing on the screen saying, "Bruce Willis reported this to the FBI," and then it cuts back to Samuel Jackson. It's like he was put in a mental asylum. I just lost my shit laughing because I was like, you could tell they didn't think they were going to get a sequel. It was just like that very much. He died on the way back to his home planet.
Yeah.
Like they just reveal this big twist, and it's like, this is how it got resolved. By the way, that thing that just got revealed. It just cracked me up so much.
Pretty unnecessary, really. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, a very weird conclusion. But this isn't a documentary. Why do we have this footnote?
Yep.
Yeah.
Funny. But anyway, yeah. What do you think of the twist that Sarah Paulson's part of this agency that hangs out in cafes and waits for one person to leave, and then they all be like, "Are you ready to kill some superheroes?"
Yeah, weird spot to do it. Like, just go to an office building.
Yeah. Surely they have like a lot or something. Like surely
a parking lot. Yeah, like
yeah.
Get together on a construction site, pretend to be trading. Like it's not.
It's just weird. Like I was like, what are they doing? Like I was like, what are they trying to achieve? Like
it's very poorly laid out. It doesn't go anywhere. I don't think we're going to get another movie in this series, right? Surely not.
No. M. Night has said he doesn't want to do it. He's got no plans, but he's also a dirty liar, so who knows? I think it was. Yeah, maybe. I think it fits, right? Like the whole, there's always, because in comics, there's always like a network behind the villain. There's always a bigger group of stuff. So I'm like, and I didn't see that coming. I was expecting this to just end with them, but I'm like, oh, it's really leaning into it. Again, they're kind of lame, and they just get I do like them getting undone by Glass. I think that's clever, but again, that's the wrong. Like, I don't need more plot on here. I need character. I don't care about like this bigger plot of look, he's nodding at the camera saying, I know about comic book movies. I've made comics or something. What I want is just a good character send off, and like we really don't get that.
Yep.
And so I would much rather just leave that, just have them all conclude there. And just have her be a psychiatrist, like a really shit psychiatrist, and be done with it.
I thought what they were building up when he had this whole thing where he's like, oh, all along it was just an origin story. I thought the whole thing was going to be like, oh, this awakens like Anya's powers, or this awakens like the sun's powers or something like that. But no, we don't get that.
No, well, I guess it's hard to do that in a movie that like this wants to end. It is weird that that's the point. Is like this is an origin story.
Yeah.
It's like okay, so. For what?
What the death of the hero, like the organization? I don't know.
Yeah, no, neither. I think as well, this movie suffers from like Shyamalan's not a good action director, and there are a couple of action set pieces here that could and should be good, but they're not because I don't think he really knows how to do it, which is fine. Like that's not his strength, but it's weird that he like wants to film a lot of fight scenes and dudes punching into cars and stuff. And it's just not. I don't know. It's not entertaining at all, which is sad.
Yeah.
His little cameo was pretty funny. He's like, "Oh, do I know you from somewhere? I used to be a real dirtbag.
Yeah,
selling drugs."
He was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah. His cameos in all his movies are kind of funny. Like it's part of the game. You just wait to see where he pops up.
Yeah.
Like he's actually like a supporting actor in a Trap. He's like he's like talking for like 15 minutes in that movie.
Is he the singer's
in
dad?
Trap?
Is that who he is?
He's like a backstage person for the concert. Like he's organizing stuff for the concert, and it's just like, okay, come on, you're pushing the cameo a bit far here now.
If you're self-funding these movies, it's a good way to save money, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, there is this interesting theory. Like not a theory. It's just all of his movies are kind of reflections of himself, and like some of his older ones are like, especially Lady in the Water, is very clearly about him and what he thinks about himself. But there's a sort of idea that this whole, especially Glass, is like him trying to sort of express what he feels about his own career, where like there's some bad years in the middle, like you can have your failings, but the bad ones of us are actually the best, and we can finally come to achieve our true potential when we sort of embrace that. And like there's a lot of clear little nods of him like putting himself in movies and saying these things. It's like I think he thinks he's a superhero a little bit, and like he's made some mistakes, but he's also could be the greatest one of us all. It's I don't know. It's very narcissistic, but like it's funny.
Very M Night.
Mm. Yeah. All right. I don't know, do you have anything else to say?
No.
No.
Fun.
All right. It's a shame. All right, let's rank them. For me, it would go Unbreakable, Split, Glass.
Split, Unbreakable, Glass.
Split, Unbreakable, Glass. Yeah.
Whoa.
But I did enjoy Unbreakable. I did really enjoy Unbreakable, but yeah, I think I enjoy Split overall. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, cool. Well, that settles that chapter. Thank you for joining us on the good, the bad, and the worst. What are we doing next, Luke?
So, doing something a little different this night.
Another Nolan trilogy, isn't it?
Six movies.
No. We're pulling back a bit. So I'm doing a duology. I hope that's allowed.
It's not changed.
I feel like it's better
trilogy.
to ask, for apologize than ask for permission. So we are going to do the Blade Runner duology. So Blade Runner, the final cut, and Blade Runner 2049.
Isn't there an anime coming out of this? Like 20?
Yeah, but it's a TV series. It's a TV series. So it's an anime. That doesn't fit. I checked. I googled this.
One season.
I googled this last night to make sure that you weren't going to come back with some bullshit. Like, let's wait for the
third one. You sure you don't want to just wait till then?
We're not getting. It's a TV series. Anyway, we're doing Blade Runner, but make sure it's the final cut, which is on Prime, Amazon Prime, to rent for $2.99.
Yeah.
And
don't worry, I own a box set of all 5 versions.
And 2049 is for free on Amazon Prime as well. So
just buy hard copies, people.
But make sure it's the final cut, because that's the one we'll be talking about.
I'm going to watch the director's cut.
I'm going to watch the SBS version.
No, the final cut.
Free.
Anyway, Blade Runner.
Nice. Yeah. All right, the Blade Runner duology.
Yes. Very keen.
Oh, all right. Yeah, thank you for joining us. If you liked this, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify. Rate us. It helps us a lot. Yes, that's it. See you next time.
Check out our letterboxes.
Follow us all on Letterboxd for good quality. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Yeah.